Do you know what's worse than dying? Dying before you've ever lived. Most people, they're alive but they're not living. They wake up, go to work, go to school, scroll on their phone, go to sleep, repeat, and call that life. But deep down there's a quiet voice saying, there has to be more than this. And some people choose to listen to that voice, and some of us just choose to ignore it. And I used to be that person. For about 5 years, I had these ideas to create a YouTube channel, but I was too afraid to start. I chose to silence it. And that's what the majority of people do. Because they're scared to fail, they're scared to be seen, scared to live. But the beautiful thing is, as long as you're alive, you always have a choice to take another route. Another thing is that we all fear death. The only thing is, it's an appointment none of us can cancel. But you know what's scarier than that? Getting to the end on your deathbed and realize you never actually lived. Living safe might keep you alive on paper, but it never really actually makes you feel anything. Especially if you have no passion, no purpose, just routine and doing the mundane stuff. And then at the end, you end up with regret of avoiding things you knew you should have done. The thing is, we can't avoid death, but we can avoid a meaningless life. The real tragedy is wasting the one life you get. Sometimes I just wonder, why don't we live? Why don't the majority of us live? Why don't we chase our dreams, our goals? And it brings me back to the time where I was afraid to actually take in action in order to reach my goals. Fear is something that can help you, can give you a boost, but it can also stand in your way, especially if you let it win. But when you choose to look fear in the eye and go for it and go after what you want, it's unimaginable all the things you can achieve. You might fail, you might get judged, you might lose people might talk shit about you, but here's the twist. Fear disguises itself as protection, when really it is prison. Think back to a time where you were so afraid that you really felt like you were boxed in, really feeling like you can't move forward. The thing is, if we let fear stop us, then we've already lost. We're just existing and going through the motions. Whenever I feel scared and I feel like I'm not moving forward as fast as I want to, I sit with myself and ask myself this question, and it always scares me. At least in a good way, I should say it motivates me. I ask myself the question, how would I feel if 2 years from now, I'm living the exact same life I'm living today? And if that answer is something like depressed or totally not satisfied, I know it's time for me to take more action. So I need you to ask yourself the same thing. How would you feel if 2 years from now, 5 years from now, you're living the exact same life you're living today? If that answer is not satisfying, you need to put in the work. We only have one life. And we can't control death, but what we can control is how our life looks. Comfort don't feel safe, but it's like a soft bed, It feels like a soft bed. But if you stay there too long, it's not going to help you forward. There's a study been done amongst people who were laying on their deathbed and they were interviewed. And they were asked on the things they regret not doing or doing. And the majority of people said that they regret not spending time with their family, but also they regret not taking chances and taking advantage of opportunities when they presented themselves. In my opinion, and probably in the majority of you, death is the worst thing that can happen to a person, right? So why, while we're living, do we let our fears take control of how we live? And I'm not going to sit here and pretend that I don't have any fears, because I do. But that's one of the reasons I'm creating these videos, because I know that there's someone, at least one person out there resonating with me. Failure can hurt, it can sting real bad, but you know what hurts more? Regret. Regret of not taking chances on the things you knew you had to do. So how do we live? You stop waiting. Not next month, not next year, but today. Stop putting off that goal, stop putting off starting that business, stop putting off starting that YouTube channel. Take action, no matter how small. And when you start doing those things on a daily basis, weekly basis, they will slowly move you into the life you want to live. So that's the video for today. Share this video with someone stuck in fear. And tell me in the comments below, what's one bold movement you will take this week to start living? By the way, if you're fearing uploading your first video, I made a quick guide on how to get started. You can find it in the link below in the description. Download it, it's free, and I'm sure you will benefit from it. Alright, if you made it this far, thank you for your time. And as usual, I will see you in the next one.